Very nice. Thank you. It is a wonderful world, and John made it today. Wonderful. Okay, today we are blessed to have Reverend Withers today speaking to us about For Everything There Is a Season. And this program is on live stream also. If you aren't here, we welcome anyone who's here on the computer. And our chaplain today is Lynn Hedberg, and she will hold in prayer all your prayer needs for the week. Transformational opportunities. Oh, I should say that Susan called in sick today, which is why I'm up here. But let's wish her a speedy recovery and feeling better. Okay, Book Nook News. On August 23rd from 1 to 3, Barb will be here. That's this Wednesday. And she'll be here to take care of all your needs in the Unity Bookstore. The July and August Daily Word is here, available for purchase, and the Unity magazine is available to check out. Spiritual Keys to Aging Well and Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life are available for purpose. I think those are both doing very well in the selling this month. August 23rd, Rev Deb is back, and she will be in the sanctuary for meditation that evening. And that's August 23rd, Wednesday. And on 27th, next Sunday, Deb will talk about, is Unity Christian? And that, of course, will be live streamed and on the YouTube page also. And it is the end of summer. State Fair and back to school potluck. So the 27th will be the potluck this month. Just any kind of food, fair food, whatever. I'm sure no really big theme. End of summer. Okay, on August 30, there's a brown bag meeting for music planning in the community room, and also the board meeting from 3 to 5. Looking ahead, September 3, wow. Unity and the Mystics with Rev Deb. And September 6 is the Arla meeting, where the Unity Church of Ames from 10 to 11:30 in the community room. And looking ahead, September 10th, special birthday celebration for the Unity Church of Ames and Reverend Heather. And September 14th, World Day of Prayer service at 6:30 here at the church. And looking ahead, a new class begins Tuesday, August 29th from 6:30 to 8, and that is on a Zoom. And please join us. I've started the book. It's very interesting. The book is The Four Pivots by Sean Genwright. And the dates will be every Tuesday night through October 10, with one exception, and the dates are listed here for you. So all but one Tuesday night, this will be, excuse me. And as always, we have our prayer meetings Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the phone. The information you need is right there on how to join us, and we'd love to have you join us. And the UCOA affirms your choice in wearing of the mask or not. And it's just appreciate that you take care of each other in this way, whether you want to wear a mask or not. The opening prayer. I don't know about you, but I have found this summer to be very stressful and busy. Well, there's so much that had to be done. So I have chosen a daily word from last March. And it says, "Peace be still, all is well." Today, I lay a foundation stone in the house of peace. I understand each person has a role to play in establishing world peace, and I am willing to do my part to help bring it about. My realization of world peace begins in my mind and heart. I find stillness within as I commune with God and touch the peace that passes all understanding. From this place of perfect tranquility, I radiate waves of peace, blessing to encompass the world. I send thoughts of love, healing, and assurance of the divine presence and power within me, just as it is with all people. Holding the world's people in my heart, I affirm, you are love. Can you say that? Can you affirm that with me? You are love, and you are peace. You are peace. All is well. All is well. And peace be still. And peace be still. Amen. We have this little prayer that she has included now in the Sunday service about the abundant blessings flowing. So let's read that. Abundant blessings flow to me and through me. I am alive with creative energy, awake to the prospering ideas, and open to unlimited goodness. Very well. Amen. So now let's sing. Higher place. Up, up, up to a higher place.
Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and place. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Up, up to a higher place. Up, far beyond this time and space. Up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. No more forward, no more backward, no more spinning around and around. My life is moving ever upward. My feet are leaving the ground. Up to a higher place. Up, far beyond this time and space. Up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. No more downward, no more darkness, no more wondering the point of it all. My life is destined, oh, for greatness. My soul has answered the call. Up to a higher place. Up, far beyond this time and space. Up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place.
Good. Let's greet each other. Give your neighbors a handshake, a hug, whatever. Greet Would you join me in the Unity Worldwide Ministries Foundation statement? There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God, the good omnipotence. And our Unity Church of Ames Foundation of affirmation. Through the Christ Spirit in us, we create a church and a better world. So be it. And the daily word for today is understanding. Oh, before I read this, I'd just like to say, if you've got the Ames paper, be sure you take a look at it. This is the 20th of August, which is in 1963, the day that Kings gave his, what speech is it? Yeah, I have a dream speech in the March to Washington in 63. And the paper has a section specifically for that. So it'd be worth a read. Okay. Understanding. With understanding, my spirit is always cool. One of the best ways to remain calm in any agitating circumstance is to practice understanding. Seeking to understand gives me information and insight and eases my reactivity. It keeps my emotional thermostat dialed down if I am tempted to lose my cool. Perhaps poet Rudyard Kipling was referring to understanding in his poem, If, when he wrote of the importance of keeping your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. Properly mastered, my power of understanding gives me the strength and presence of mind to be a beacon in times of trouble or crisis. Whatever this day may bring, I will carry the light of understanding with me. I am cool in spirit. I am understanding. And from Proverbs, one who is cool in spirit has understanding. Okay, another song, The Prayer of Faith. Now, this is in the hymn book, number 78, if you aren't familiar with the tune.
God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of the day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, do, and be, through Christ the truth that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here.
One comment about this song, this was a favorite of Joy Munn. As she was growing up in Saskatchewan, I think she learned this song there, and maybe not as a song, but she learned the poem, and she always really loved this particular hymn. So thank you very much. And now we are having Miss Heather Wither, Reverend Heather Wither. My gosh, I can't talk. Okay.
Well, thank you to Sally and to all of you. You should have seen Sally and Clark yesterday, if those of you who went to the senior variety show. It was a wonderful show, and they certainly took the bill on it, so thank you. So this morning, I picked a topic. For everything, there is a season. Some of you may know it because the Byrds sang it and Pete Seeger made words for it and so on. But did you know that it goes back to at least the 3rd century BCE? So it has a very long history. And it has many parts to it. So I would just like to read you. This is actually from the New International Version, and it'll sound familiar to you, I think. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search, and a time to give up. a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak. So this morning, my talk is a little more autobiographical than I normally give. So I'm doing it because I think when we share of ourselves, you know, you often find that someone else has had the same experience or a similar one, and that it's a way of connecting us all. And I just love being connected with all of you. A time to be born. I was born in Liverpool, England, a year before the Second World War broke out in Europe. I was the first and only child. My parents married somewhat later in life, but I always felt that I was a very loved child, especially by my mother and my grandparents, whom I adored. So I was so delighted, I think, to be in that family. I did do a little bit of a number on the doctor who birthed me, because he had checked out I was facing the right way to come out. And somehow I managed to flip myself around in the meantime. And so I was, I think I must have been, you know, ready to go, raring to go in life. So, so that was my very early years. We had grandparents in the same town, and that was lovely because they were just wonderful also. So I think it was a really good beginning for my life. Then there was a time to be loved. And the Second World War broke out. And my parents, knowing that Liverpool was a port and would be a receiving station for troops coming over from the States and Canada, decided that it would be a good idea if my mother and I, along with my grandparents, went to live in Blackburn. Blackburn was inland and was not hit anywhere near like Liverpool. It was a smaller place. And my father stayed in Liverpool because he was a civil servant and he had a day job, and then he would do the fire watching in the evening. So we didn't see as much of him during the war. But it were a real nice place being in Blackburn. I did love it a lot. Because let's see, what relationship was it? Mrs. Arkwright, who lived in Blackburn, was related to my grandmother. So we'd already got a connection there. And it was wartime. And if you may remember, there was a lot of rationing during wartime. Well, Mr. Arkwright and my mother made a little deal. Totally underhanded, but it worked. A lot of people were doing it. So we got more coal and he got more cigarettes. So it was a win-win situation. And I remember special times with them. My grandparents had their golden anniversary while we were living in Blackburn. It was a time of blackouts. It was a time of no streetlights. And so we had several people who came from Liverpool to it, which was really wonderful. And they had such a lovely relationship. And it's one of the heartrending moments of my life to have been able to sit there and be with my grandparents in this time of war. Everything outside seemed to be going to pieces. But just there, we felt that presence of God, that presence of each other. And it was an absolutely wonderful, wonderful time going on. And also, not only did I have my grandparents, but I found a friend. I was a shy little girl. I never went to preschool or anything. And oh, I should tell you this, on the first day of school, my mother was hanging on to me with one hand and the teacher was trying to pull me in with the other. And it was going to be hard to know who was going to win. So I was a shy little girl, and we had these two lovely boys in the class. And I was so shy, I would be opposite to them in our assembly, and I'd start to cry. I have no idea why, but anyhow, that shows you kind of how shy that I was. I did get over it. So I had this time there that was really golden years of my life. And you could say, how could it be golden years? There was a war going on, you know, and we were really sheltered in many respects. Sheltered because we weren't in London or Liverpool or some of the areas that were bombed a lot, but also sheltered and protected and loved. And that has stayed with me my whole life. That love of my grandparents, of my mother, of my father. And that was such a precious thing. And then having my friend Janet and her parents just added to that. So, as I say, it seems funny to say that that was a special time for me, but it really, really was. And I didn't realize, I don't think, how disturbed people were because they put up this really good front for all, well, especially for me, the little one, who, because they knew what was going on and I didn't. We had a radio and they put the radio on, and whenever they could hear the voice saying, never in the history of human life, I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I felt them relax. They were hearing Winston Churchill, who, no matter what was going on, no matter what he might have thought in his head, always managed to convey that spirit to the people, that it was going to be okay. And I think I picked that up from him, that the spirit of, yeah, it looks terrible, but we're going to get through this, folks. And of course, we did. It was interesting. Well, it wasn't interesting, really, but we never went to church. And that's in the European countries, that's, quite often the case. But my grandfather, who had been headmaster of a Church of England school, had got a bit disillusioned with that. So we never went to church, as I can remember. But what I did learn was I learned about love. And these days we'd say, I knew the difference between religion, which was what people did when they went to church, and spirituality, which is deeply, deeply ingrained in their hearts. And it was so also with a teacher at the school I went to. She just inundated love on people, told us about this little boy who comes to their church and he's all raggedy and everything's torn and he's very sad. And how just by being with them at the church and with the teacher, how he started to blossom, to kind of come out of himself. And I had so many people like that in my life from an early age who gave me a sense of what it was like to be a deeply caring, wonderfully open person. And I have never forgotten, never forgotten that. So eventually the war ended, and we had street lights. We went downtown to see the street lights. It was a big outing because we hadn't had street lights during the war. And in our road, we'd had rationing, so people didn't have a whole lot of stuff, but they'd been saving up stuff. And my, did we have a party. We had all kinds of cakes and goodies and everything out there, which was a wonderful, a kind of a release after, everything being so held in and pent up. So we went back to Liverpool. My grandparents went back to Liverpool. My dad had stayed there during the war. And my good friend Janet went back to Liverpool, to Liverpool. And we both went to the same school. And we had a wonderful headmistress. She was very proper and no nonsense kind of a person. And she would walk around the class and offer us her whatever she wanted to offer us, which often was maybe something we were doing wrong or not quite right, until she got to one corner where the son of the director of education in Liverpool was sitting, and she would go over and say, "Oh, Harold, how nice to see you. How is your father doing these days?" And it was, I don't know if she was aware of it, but probably Janet and I had a little chuckle about this difference, between it, just the regular folks like us. But it was so nice getting back and being able to spend more time with my dad and his family, as well as my great aunt, my uncle, and aunt. So those school days were wonderful for me. Came home for lunch, which wasn't far away, and happy times. And then maybe some of you have heard about this or have lived it, not lived it, but know about it. At age 11, you took what was called the 11 plus, which was a glorified kind of intelligence test. And that sorted you out at the age of 11 as to where you were going to spend the rest of your life. Well, it started to divide people up. And we had what were called grammar schools, and those were rather posh. And some of them were private, some of them were private and public. Sorry, I have to juggle it over here. A public school in England is what a private school would be here. So excuse me for that. So anyhow, we had those, and depending on how well you scored in this test, you got divided up. And fortunately, I was able to do it well enough. They said I came out white and trembling to go to the school that my parents wanted me to go to. Most of the young women had started at the age of 5 in the school and had just come up through it. They had a certain amount of scholarships. We were the scholarship girls, and we would start at age 11. And one of the things that I couldn't help notice was we had someone in our class who obviously had done well enough to get there, but she came from a poorer part of town. And we had school uniforms, and you were not supposed to chew gum when you had your school uniform on, and there are various other rules. And these school uniforms are expensive, and you could only get them at one place in town. So this poor young woman who had come from a poor part of town probably didn't have two nickels to rub together, is put in this awkward position of having to pay for these expensive outfits that I'm sure her family couldn't afford. And I think one day the headmistress spoke to her about it, about how she couldn't come to school unless she got this outfit. And later I wished I had known her better, because can you imagine how that felt for a young woman trying to do what was right? But, you know, when you're being kind of attacked, you don't do as well as when you're, you know, these others who are being praised all the time. So she did what was allowed, is she got out of that school at age 13. Sometimes they did the reverse and people came in at 13. And I've always held that in my heart. Could I have done more for her? And it opened my mind, as it did several times, to how just subtle social class can be. Because I don't know that anyone thought they were doing anything wrong. They were just, you know, getting or doing the things that we do in this school. So that was kind of an opening for me. Then, oh, yes, I should just tell you this one. Belvedere was a school I went to at age 11. And our headmistress had definite views about things. And she would say to us, "Now, girls, don't associate with those boys who go to the school around the corner. They're not your social class." And I thought, dead right, not my social class. Ringo Starr went to the school around the corner. Look, he made millions. So, so that was another example to me of how unknowingly, you know, we do these things. So that was another awakening for me. My early teenage years were marked by death. When I was 14, my mother died after about an illness for 6 months. She'd been in the hospital for about 6 months. Shortly after, my maternal grandmother died, and then later, my grandfather. We also lost a favorite aunt and her husband, another uncle, and a younger cousin. All made their transition in that time. A lot of people to lose in a short time. And what was so difficult, and this is not telling tales or anything, but you've heard of the stiff upper lip. Well, we had the stiff upper lip. And I can still remember the night I came home. We were staying with my aunt, my dad and I, and no one was telling me she was dying. I knew it, but no one was really telling me. I think my grandfather did tell me about 2 weeks before she died that she might not make it. But no one else was. So I come in and I pick up just by the atmosphere. They told me not to go down and see my mother that day in the hospital, which I did every day. I came home to where we were staying, which is with my aunt and uncle. I picked up immediately and I asked them, "Mom's died, hasn't she?" And the answer was, "Oh, Dick, you're going in town. You're going in to stay in the hospital tonight, aren't you?" You know, the obvious inference being he wouldn't go if she passed away. Well, he was, to pick up her things because she had died. So we did all the proper rituals of going through this meal, that not knowing what had happened to my mother. And then at the end, my aunt got out this huge family Bible. And she opened it at a page. And I imagine this probably is what happened to her. She lost a mother at a very early age. Of what I thought were horrible looking angels, gruesome, you know, those old woodcut pictures. Like, And in my head, I was going, no, she can't be with them, no. And so after they had told me that my mother was with the angels, I was sent off to bed, but not to cry. We don't cry. And I bottled up those tears that day until the next morning when I was walking to get the tram to go to school, just like a normal day, except I just bawled for, it was probably a mile or so, all the way down. Fortunately, no one was around. I sucked it all up and got on the tram and tried to pretend all day I was okay. I don't know if I spoke to anybody. I'm sure I didn't tell them what had happened. And that was so sad for me. So sad for the family who had been brought up in a way you couldn't show those emotions. You couldn't show sadness. You couldn't show being upset. You tried not to show anger too. And so I just sat in school and I don't think I spoke to anyone, didn't tell anyone what was going on. And that was a very, very hard time, losing so many relatives who I would normally have spoken to, losing my mother. And so I think I just clammed up for quite a while. Which was hard. It was only in, I think, my 30s, excuse me, when I plucked up courage to go to a grief group. And I found out that all the feelings that I had had and suppressed because I was guilty I had them were very normal. To be angry, to be hurt, to be sorrowful were just the normal range of emotions to feel. That was such a relief to me because I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know who I could tell. So it was sometimes, and I have to admit this, I did feel the absence of God. Where is God in all of this? We didn't go to church. We didn't have a minister to talk to or anything. But where is God? And of course, God was there all along. But as Mother Teresa said, sometimes in heavy disguise. So later on, I did open up to some spirituality, but I did go to the university. I stayed at home to go to the university, and hopefully starting to grow up. One thing I noticed was that everyone else around me was a lot more mature and with it than I was. And I stayed in Liverpool and continued living with my dad. And while I was there, I met a fellow student, and it was through a Christian group. He had, and I think this is just using the term that's a proper term for it, he had dwarfism, which meant that he was smaller than I was. He had foreshortened legs and arms. But we got along very well, and I didn't think anyone would ever want to marry me. But that was one of the times that was so, so difficult. And I understand both sides of it. My father, my uncle, my aunt didn't want me to see him at all. And he's saying to me, if you don't marry me, my life's going to be ruined, because he didn't think he ever would get married. So there I was, torn between Norman and my family. And I did end up marrying Norman. And we got married down in the south of England because no one wanted to come to the wedding except my aunt and uncle, who came to the town and sent a letter to me about if I'd only just give this up, they'd receive me back in like the prodigal son and all would be forgiven. So we got married, and I can still see, we came back up to Liverpool, got on the boat to take us to Canada. And they always do these boat drills. So we were standing on the deck of the ship, watching the Liverpool skyline disappear. I had been cut out of certain wills. I didn't know if I was ever going to hear from any of my family again, which was pretty hard because I really loved my family and I knew they loved me. Of course, my dad and my aunt and uncle, rallied and communicated, and we went back to see them back and forth and so on. So, but at the time, it is such a sinking feeling. I don't know if any of you've experienced that, but it's something that kind of sits with you for a long time. And then after we were married for a while, Norman said, well, he'd just done it to prove it he could do it like anybody else. So I'm going, well, thank you. And what I realized deep down was he was born during the war, and his mother was told that she should send him miles and miles away to a special place for kids like he was, except that most of those also had mental things as well. So she did, because her husband was away in the war. And I think deep down inside of him, he felt that there was no one who could really, really love him. So that was very hard, I think, on both of us. He went back up to Canada. By that time, we were in Oregon. Both of us enrolled in graduate programs. And he went back up to Canada, never heard from him again. And there was a thing that if you didn't hear from a person and didn't communicate in a year, you could ask for a divorce. They had no fault divorces. So I have no idea what happened to him. I've sent lots of blessings to him in my life. So there has been kind of a lot of sadness, a lot of pain, but also an awful lot of joy. I've made the same mistakes over and over again. And I'm thinking now that I'm at a time in my life where I'm doing some regrouping. Heck, I'm going to be 85 in a couple of weeks, So if I don't grow up now, when am I going to grow up? It's too hard to grow up. So I am very, very grateful that I now have a loving God in my life, a wonderful husband who is supportive and caring. And I'm also blessed so much by all of you and friends and relatives who've supported me through all the seasons of my life, never really ever given up on me. So I think I'm ready for another quantum leap. Those of you who've been around here for a while know we're studying Price Pritchett's Taking a Quantum Leap, which isn't, I think I'll do a little bit of this. He says, go for it. So that's, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to go for, but I think it will include things I haven't had the time to do as much. I want to do writing and some community service, some travel, perhaps some counseling, focus more on health and spirituality, and definitely declutter the house. So it's time to step out in faith. I want to be more open and honest about the seasons of my life. I believe it's when we let down our guard and seek our truth in love that we can help each other lead more fulfilling and authentic lives. So on Sunday, September 10th, as we heard about, I invite you to show up here at church and we'll celebrate my birthday and the birthday of the founding of this church building. And if you go outside and turn left and look down, immediately down there is a thing saying AD 1938, which is my birthing date too. So I know we're going to say it later, but this one I think is for all of us. and especially for all of you who are so precious to me. May the road rise up to meet you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain be gentle on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of their hand. And may all your seasons of life be blessed. Amen. Have to shift gears here for a minute. So we do a meditation song, I think, now, don't we?
Quietly, inwardly, I pause and pray. God's loving wisdom now opens the way. Quietly, inwardly, bathing in light, I am receiving God's power and might. Quietly, inwardly, I have no fear. Only the words of the Lord do I hear. Quietly, inwardly, clear is my view. Imperfect action is making me new.
So I invite you to close your eyes if you wish, to let the pew support you so that you can relax into it. Relaxing your body, relaxing your mind, coming into a place of calmness, of knowing that you are loved and that you are love. And allow yourself to just bask in that for a few moments. So often we don't tell ourselves that. We may say it to someone else, but now say it to yourself, how blessed you are. And now let that circle widen. You are still in the circle, but move beyond it. Think of some people in your life that you really deeply love. They may be with you now or they may have passed on. But just hold the memories. Hold the times you've enjoyed together. And feel your heart expanding with delight at having known them, in knowing them. And now think of somebody or somebodies who are not as close to you. Perhaps there was an argument, perhaps there was some difference. But if there's unresolved business there, even though you know you may be right, Extend to them the beauty and love of forgiveness and of love. Draw them into your circle. And then let our circle widen. Widen into this community, to your family, to your friends, to all who live here. And see it going out in waving circles, further and further and further, until you've encompassed the whole world, with no exception. And hold in your heart especially people who are in war-torn countries, facing famine, sickness, mental challenges or physical challenges. And know that they are one in God, that God's healing, loving power is with them, blessing them right now as you extend your blessing to them. And then giving thanks for our whole wonderful world, for our great universe, and the loving spirit that holds all things in place in every season. Slowly come back with a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for who you are. Gratitude for those around you. Gratitude for anyone in this whole wonderful world. And then draw that love back into this room as we sing once again.
Quietly, inwardly, I have no fear. Only the words of the Lord do I hear. Quietly, inwardly, clear is my view. I am receiving God's life in me.
Oh, thank you all. And this is the neat time. Well, the whole service is always neat here, but this is when we have a chance to give. I know we have many chances in our life to do that, but I think it's wonderful to open our hearts, open our hands, open who we are. So, I think we do that afterwards. So do we sing this one, don't we? Do we sing this one? As we go around? Pardon? Sorry?
We will sing Give God Gives It Back.
Sing. Have I got it backwards, you said? Oh, I quite likely could. So we sing as someone goes around, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm not used to looking around this way. Oh, that's right. Thank you. I did not sleep very well last night. Yes, let's say it together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I'm joy-filled and grateful. Amen. Thank you.
Give God gives it back to me. Give God gives it back to you. Give God gives it back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over back in good measure. God gives it back to you. If God gives it back to you, if God gives it back to you, if God gives it back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over back in good measure, God gives it back to you.
So these offerings are just a small token of our love and of our appreciation for this church, for all who come here and are blessed here, for the blessings that they carry out into the world. And we especially remember those who have so little at this time. And may we always have generosity and an open heart. So for all the gifts that have been given, both monetary and from our hearts, we say, thank you, God. Each like that would say, one more time.
Thank you, God.
One more time.
Thank you, God.
And now it's time for our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. When life is fantastic.
And please, let's give Heather unity blessing. We love you.